I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Dr. Mike Gustafson and Clint Scott. I'm Aaron Dickens. We're joining you today until 6 o'clock. We'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at Double T 97.3.com. All guests appear via the Visual Edge IT hotline. And we'll have coverage of Texas Tech basketball coming up at 6 on Double T 97.3. Fellas, how we doing? No, today's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You did throw me there.
Yeah.
I was thinking, dang.
It's been a week.
It kind of has for me
barely
as well.
Tuesday. So apologies, but all that other stuff is right.
Yeah, you're right.
Would love to hear what everyone has to say. We have some emails to go over. We have some coaching news to go over, not tech related. We have some NCAA proposals to go over. Lots to get to on the program today. Do you want to start with an email?
Oh, yeah. An email
Sending myself emails.
That one, yeah. I mean, we're just killing it on these things so far. Our predictions are just so on point.
This one's going to get worse. Before the season, and I don't know when this was. It was Friday, August 25th. So right before.
Yep, probably leading into the
right
Wyoming
before
week.
The season really started in earnest. We predicted the worst team in every power conference. All right, in the ACC, the worst team was Wake Forest. The Demon Deacons finished 1-7 in conference play.
Okay.
All right. Dead last. Clint, you predicted Virginia. That is incorrect. Virginia finished 5-3 in conference play, 6-6 overall. They're going to a bowl game. Gus, you predicted Boston College. I predicted Boston College as well. That was not correct, although better than Virginia. Boston College was 3-5 in conference play, but also 6-6 overall. In the Big Ten, this was again not our finest moment. We all thought that Northwestern was going to be the worst team in the conference because of its off-season dismissal of Pat Fitzgerald. They had not been very good up to that point, the couple of years before, and so that seemed like a layup. Northwestern finished 5-4. And 7-5 overall. And so they were definitely not the worst team. Indiana was the worst team, 1-8 in conference play.
And they have enjoyed a coaching change.
Right. Kurt Cignetti, the new head coach there at Indiana from James Madison.
And Michael Penix off in Washington, just having all sorts of success.
Yes. In the Big 12, some disagreement. Clint and Gus thought that West Virginia would be the worst team. We know that they were not. I thought that Iowa State would be the worst team. They were not. So a lot of bad choices there. In the Pac-12, Clint and I both thought that Cal, Tech's bowl opponent, would be the worst team in the conference. They were not. They were 4-5 in conference play, 6-6 overall. And then Gus, you had Stanford, which technically not the worst team, but close. Mm-hmm. Colorado was the worst team, 1-8 in conference play. Stanford and Wazoo and Arizona State all finished 2-7. Let's see. And finally, in the SEC, this was a gimme. We all picked Vanderbilt. It was Vanderbilt. There's really nothing else that needs to be said. That's like the points that you get for putting your name on the SAT, really.
Yeah, we had that. I guess relegation question yesterday about spinning somebody off, cutting a team loose from a league,
mm-hmm.
and Vanderbilt always ends up as the team that gets thrown out there because they are in quite a uphill climb in that conference. But they are, I would assume we would define them as a legacy program, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the last one for today, we were all very, very upset in late June about Pro Football Focus releasing power rankings of the Big 12 that had Texas Tech 11th. And so we determined that we would revisit those at season's end. And, the plan was to laugh at them for how much better Tech was than 11th. And, but still a lot of holes. I mean, TCU was picked third here, clearly not. Baylor was picked fifth, clearly not. UCF picked sixth, clearly not. Houston seventh, Cincinnati eighth, Oklahoma State 9, Kansas 14.
Wow.
West Virginia 13. So a lot wrong there. They just were not nearly as wrong about Tech as we thought they would be.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We'll have Lady Raider basketball coverage tonight as they take on Sam Houston. That coverage will start at 5:30 on 107.7 Yes FM.
Stay
That's
hot,
not true,
ladies.
right?
Yeah, stay hot, ladies. Are 9-0. Sorry.
Ask what?
The board is weird.
No, we're having it on 107.7 Yes FM and 100.7 The Score. So
What about the Liberty games?
That's on 93.1.
Ah. So that's
Why is it in the same color?
It's also it's because if you're wondering back there, they're color coded for each station, but 107.7 Yes FM uses a black marker, but so apparently does 93.1, but it's a different black marker, so a little more muted.
Can we not find like one more color? Are we out of colors?
Is there an orange?
You just for this. Or the other thing you could do is just for this week use the Bulls color because there's no other bull. Like change it this week to 93.1.
You both come in here with your anarchy.
Yeah, we
shaking
do.
up that's why you're the bad boys of Raymar.
Here's the polite way to say it. We come in with fresh eyes. Okay, that's the nice way.
Or
to
just
say it.
eyes that work and can see that those two colors are the same.
Dang.
Just a thought.
Maybe it just takes a refined eye to see the differences, the subtle different notes.
I don't have a
each
refined
black
eye. I go out at night to take the dog out to the bathroom without my glasses on. I'm amazed that I can make my way back home. That's it for this segment, but a lot more still to come. More Tech Talk next.
It's every Red Raiders favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Gus and Clint. I'm Aaron. We're joining you today until 6 o'clock. Would love to hear your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at Double T 97.3.com. So I'd say the big story today, at least in the college sports space, is a proposal from the new NCAA president, Charlie Baker, that would allow Division I schools, but essentially mainly Power 5 and some upper level Group of 5 teams, to pay athletes that are not, or in ways rather that are not just purely about education or educational resources. This is just a proposal. This is not something that's being voted on. Right. This is not what it will look like in its final form, almost certainly. But his proposal is that Division I schools would allowed to enter, or would be allowed to enter into NIL deals directly with their players. This would create a new subdivision of Division I that would include schools that would be allowed to create their own rules for recruiting, transfers, roster size, a number of other different policy areas. But to be a part of this subdivision, each school would have to put millions of dollars each year, at least, into a trust fund for athletes. I think the minimum in the proposal is $30,000 per athlete. And it wouldn't have to be every athlete, but you would need to have an equal number of male and female athletes paid. So it would be a lot of money.
Yeah, and that was I think the descriptor in that language was within the Title IX space, or something akin to acknowledgement of, hey, this has got to be done in a way that
Is compliant.
Creates some compliance. It really is interesting. It feels like the first, perhaps truly maybe overt gesture toward that mythical or hypothetical, whatever. But we've all thought that this day would come where there might be another realm of Division I, a higher realm, whatever. Don't know that this is the Super League of the top 20 or 30 or 40 teams, but this does seem to be providing some structure for a higher level, a separation of Power Five and perhaps Group of Five, for those who desire to live in this space.
It's a lot of money. I don't know that it solves anything, Gus. Unless there's some kind of component here that I haven't seen where there's some level of contract or some kind of, document that ties an athlete to a school for a set amount of years at least. It doesn't have to be forever or 5 years. But absent that kind of mechanism, you're still going to have people transferring around. This isn't, I don't think that it can replace the NIL that we have now. Like, I don't know that you can put that back in the tube.
No.
And so you would just, at this point, have players getting paid by the university and also players getting paid by collectives. And maybe the collectives mostly do their stuff with, recruiting as de facto inducements, even though it's technically not allowed. We all know that's what happens. I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with players getting paid, right? I'm fine with players getting paid from the universities. I'm not morally opposed to this. I just don't know what this solves, other than maybe gets some lawsuits off the table.
Yeah.
And reduces some heat from the government or the, judiciary. But in terms of stuff that people care about, NIL and collectives and all that stuff and transfer portal,
I think it provides some structure for Title IX compliance as well. We saw today, I guess, the reporting on, and we had talked about this late last week, and it's, I don't know where this is going to go, but the Oregon beach volleyball situation that we had talked about, like that's 100-page filing lawsuit. Don't even know if that has legs, but I guess it's worth mentioning here that in this space, there has to be by law some or statute, I guess, some provisions for equality across gender. And so I think that what you're saying, it clears some lawsuits, it clears it provides some structure for that, because collectives are probably, as athletic departments drift closer and closer to their collectives and how the collectives dole out resources. That's where the fuzzy part is going to be around Title IX, It feels like this is an attempt to get some structure to that. Like you said, clear some lawsuits or avoid some.
But at least with what we have now, NIL is largely very market driven, right? The two sports that have the most broad appeal get the bulk of the resources. There are some sports with regional appeal that get a lot of resources as well. For example, college baseball in the SEC. Mm-hmm. There are individual athletes in other sports, the LSU gymnast, for example, that got deals, the Cavender twins in women's basketball, et cetera. But with this, how is this anything other than college football, men's basketball subsidizing this other half of payments, just like it does with the scholarships, right? Just like it does with the rest of the department, with the operating budget and all that stuff. And like, again, I'm not sitting here mad because some, beach volleyball player is going to get a big check. Like if you can get it, good for you.
Yeah, I agree.
But as someone who just really cares about football, basketball, baseball, and probably some women's soccer, I would prefer that the resources mostly go to those. And maybe that's me being selfish. And I happily and openly admit my biases there. But like again, I don't know what this solves. I don't know that this makes the sport again from aside from the lawsuit stuff. I don't know what this solves.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, it probably clears the it provides some level of response from the NCAA toward their goal of student athlete and educate providing some educational structure to this versus just letting it run off the rails. But I'm with you. I don't know that it changes. I don't know that it changes a lot.
The football team, the basketball team, the college baseball players in some cases, they're going to get paid regardless. Yeah. Right? This is essentially, we're going to pay beach volleyball players, for example, instead of, having an associate AD for X, Y, and Z. I mean, that's where the money's being taken from. More Tech Talk next.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hey there, how you going? It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Gus and Clint. I'm Aaron. We're joining you today until 6. Would love to hear your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at Double T 97.3.com. Somebody asks, this is Womble buying Tech a beach? No, as far as I know, he's not. But I don't want to hurt any feelings by singling out, teams on campus of which I have no emotional investment in. So, always choose sports that Tech doesn't have.
Probably a difficult time to consider adding teams, at any school, given the uncertainty and the uncertainty in budgeting, I guess, to put it simply.
But some of the stuff should be club anyways.
Oh, sure.
Right? Like beach volleyball for one.
Some rifle and horses and stuff. I got you. No, I hear you.
Like equestrian, for example, sure. Right? It would be great if there was an easier, affordable way for more people to get involved with equestrian sports if they were interested, right? If they were keen to do whatever the hell that is, right?
Jumping.
Sure, yeah. It would be great if that was more accessible. It's not. Right. You need a horse. right? You need to be able to ride a horse. Those are not cheap things. But I'm guessing that the folks that are involved in equestrian, right? Probably not, scholarship probably isn't just like the end-all be-all for them. I'm painting with a broad brush.
Sure.
There are clearly exceptions, but I think generally that's probably true. What are we like? Why is that an NCAA mandated sport? Beach volleyball, same thing. Who cares? What?
I mean, both of the sports you describe, I think, are women's sports, and those are probably defined.
Are they women's sports because that's
no? They're used for Title IX. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, they're fillers. They're like they're counterbalance deals.
Mm-hmm. That one of the things that my understanding about this is the rowing programs. It's a situation where there may be 25 kids on a team, but the one boat really competes for championships, and so you might have, because I think Texas, Oklahoma.
There's just one boat?
I think that compete, for the big title. When it comes down to it, your best boat versus my best boat for the championship.
Are the boats on scholarship?
But when we have a duel, skull. Isn't that what they're called? Skulls or whatever? But when we have it, that's not right. But when they have a dual meet, there may be 3 or 4 Texas boats and 3 or 4 OU boats. So what do you have? You got 25 kids on the roster. And from the 25, you pick your 5.
You know what you have
best.
when Miami's involved? It's called How You Going? You have a U-boat.
Oh. I thought I was going to do something with a hurricane. Hurricane might be kind of tough.
I am so proud of myself for that. You have no idea. That's fine. You can't bring me down. I made a U-boat joke.
I wasn't trying to bring you down. I was adding to the sailing concept.
It's today's a success.
Getting some yacht in there. Getting some yacht.
Our friend Shelly has this. I haven't been able to watch for months. Where in the heck is Gus's binder?
I'm kind of in the midst of some other junk that's going on in other jobs in a way that I need a laptop open in front of me these days. So the binder, I'm ready for the binder to return, but right now it's so I can keep an eye on my blooming email, which irks me.
You need to bring the binder back so that
that's right here.
Clint can sneak in here when you're out.
I know, and read through it.
And he can draw a quick phallic symbol on a random page.
Graffiti me.
Also, the Bloomin' email sounds like how you'd sign up for an Outback Steakhouse rewards membership.
I agree.
Sign up for the Bloomin' email.
Sign up for the Bloomin' email and get a free Bloomin' onion. Right? Making me hungry, dude.
The question, I guess, if something like this does pass, maybe the numbers are somewhat different. Maybe some of the finer points are changed or cut or new things are added. This will probably be most of the Power Five. Do you think that any current Power Five universities would just say, nah?
I know. It does. I mean, there's not much incentive for a Vanderbilt or someone to opt out to say, hey, we don't want to do this. Not because the financial, because we may all look at it and go, their football team's been terrible forever. Yeah, but that football team funds a really good baseball program, et cetera, et cetera. And in the grand scheme of the educational pursuits at a school like that, they probably see it with a more well-rounded view than straight up championships and football heat. So I don't know that they would opt out. I mean, and I don't think you would opt out without making a. If you're going to opt out, what's the point in just sort of stepping back to a group of 5? If you're really at an academically elite situation going to opt out, wouldn't you just opt out and go University of Chicago? We're going D3. This is all.
That's what I was like. Would Stanford do this?
Right. Sure. Sure.
Would Northwestern do this?
I don't know. The interesting part about Stanford that I didn't know until April, and you and I talked about this, they've got a really high percentage of just the I call them hall walkers, but just the students that when I walked over there and stood there and watched all the smart kids roll by on their bikes and skateboards and all that stuff, that they've got a considerable percentage of their student body that are student athletes. Didn't that come back with a number like 800 or 900? I thought that was what we talked.
Sounds about right. And then a ton of sports.
Yeah, and exactly. They do. They're well into the 20s. And then the flip side of that was the other interesting fact was that they have like 7 suites in their football stadium. Remember, you would think that it might adversely affect just undergraduate population at a place like Stanford. Now, would they recover? Sure. If all the swimmers and divers went, hey, we're out. We came here to get ready for the U.S. Olympics and compete at the highest level of swimming and diving. If you're going D3, we're out. They're headed off to Florida and Texas and wherever the elite swimmers and divers would go. But I don't know that they would. Their student population would suffer, and in fact, it might go up a little bit if they weren't making concessions to get athletes on campus.
I mean, I would go there for concessions,
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple hot dogs, maybe a soft pretzel. More Tech Talk next. It's not. Right. You need a horse.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Gus and Clint. I'm Aaron. We're joining you today until 6 o'clock. Would love to hear your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at Double T 97.3.com. Someone has this question: when will we know if Kitley is taking the UTEP job?
We know the answer to that.
He's not.
He did not. Nor is Kenny Perry. They hired the head coach from Austin Peay yesterday morning.
Oh,
sorry, my finger slipped.
Yeah, that's all right.
Speaking of coaching carousel, there are reportedly 3 finalists for the New Mexico football job, and a clear favorite has emerged, so much so that we've reached the point where it's being reported that they will hire one of these 3 finalists. But Matt Wells and Rocky Long were among the finalists, so Rocky Long would be a retread.
Wow.
But they are apparently targeting Bronco Mendenhall.
Wow.
At New Mexico, which
also, I mean, all 3 of those have Power 5.
I don't think Rocky Long was
no, he wouldn't have Power 5.
Yeah.
But two of the all have head coaching experience and some fairly extensive head coaching experience.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Granted, I'm not just super up to date on the program histories at New Mexico State or UNM, but I have to think that between Jerry Kill and Bronco Mendenhall, this is the best those 2 programs have ever been in terms of coaches at the same time. It's hard to imagine it getting better than that.
Yeah, I agree.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. What does it say about Kitley's happiness here that he interviewed for the UTEP job?
Not a thing. I think it's. There's how many Division I team programs now? 130 now? Yeah, 131. I think that's everything. And as an ascending coordinator in the profession and one who's highly regarded by the profession, not our texters. I think he's absolutely right to explore that. He should. There's 131 of those jobs out there. This is one that's in his part of the country, from which he hails, if you will. I mean, I talk about that. I'm saying that I know it's 7 hours from here, and we think it's a long way if you're talking like high schools. But if you're talking about the 48 states, he's from this part of the world. And the other thing is UTEP competed in that league with his Western Kentucky teams in a way that I think they understood how good that was a couple of years ago. And so, yeah, I think that's exactly what that's about. And you know, the guy they hired is a head coach with head coaching experience. And so if that was something that was very important to them, then, you know, that wasn't what was going to be offered, at least from Coach Kitley.
I think it's also worth noting that this gives him a chance, even if he didn't think that he had a great chance at getting it, getting a chance to interview for a head coaching job is valuable experience for him in the future, right? So, yeah, I think there should be no issue with anybody, you know, with him choosing to interview for any of the FBS head coaching jobs. If he wanted to get out of here, right, he'd go take the offensive coordinator job at, I don't know, Troy or something, right? Like he could pull the ripcord if he wanted to and get out of here and find another job. It wouldn't be as good as this one, but he could do it. And there were people asking about him last year, like in the SEC, right? So it's not like, again, your point I think was very good. He is widely and well regarded, across the sport. You had a down year. You had quarterback injuries. Your receivers didn't perform. Again, I don't know if that's all on the receivers, if that's scheme, if that's position coaching, whatever. Probably some combination of the three. But he can find another job. But this gives him a chance to go for one of 130 some odd head coaching jobs in the FBS and also interview experience for the next time. So
good way to keep your name out there.
Yeah. This on the Yates Flooring Center Challenge. OU and the Ohio State are going to lose their bowls. You know, because their starting quarterbacks have entered the transfer portal. I wonder if both sides to these kind of departures will end up regretting that decision. Because if you're Dylan Gabriel, you're now going someplace, even if it's like Oregon, where you're going to have to pick up a new offense, right? You've got new teammates. You're going to be dealing with a bunch of different travel. You know, that's a risk, right? That's a risk to leave that. And then for Ohio State, it's just as big of a risk for Kyle McCord, although he has more years of eligibility in front of him. But like, if you're Ohio State and you didn't like just do everything you could to keep him, right? Like, why are you so sure that the grass is going to be greener with some kind of transfer quarterback?
Sure.
Even if it is like Will Howard or someone, like that's you're running the risk of kind of backing yourself into a corner with no recourse if things go wrong.
It was the that was along the lines of a comment that I made yesterday when we talked about. We had a texter, I think, that expressed some desire to go get a quarterback in the portal, and you had talked about something that you've said that you wouldn't mind seeing a veteran backup quarterback. You know, someone that comes here knowing, hey, I'm going to be playing behind Baron Morton. Maybe for someone who opts into a senior year or a COVID year or something like that. And my comment yesterday had to do with the person who thought we should be out, you know, really dedicating some assets, I guess, if you will, Matador Club assets. Would be my assumption there, to one of these top 10 quarterbacks who's, these QBs that are all it's not hard to get to a top 10 portal list of QBs because there's a lot of Power 5 guys that had some success. But you know, how much of a if we were really going out and looking for someone to create competition with Baron Morton, then why not just dedicate your assets to someone you've already got on campus in Tyler Shuck? You know, if that was the goal, and right. I don't think it is. I don't think the desire here is to get to create competition, like head-to-head competition with Morton for the starting job. How much different is this than I get the difference in talent levels and stuff, but Mahomes to Davis Webb, like, hey, Davis, it's not going to work for you. You might want to move on. Is this a distant cousin to that conversation?
Like maybe 3 times. I mean, like if you ignore the talent, yes.
Yeah. Sure.
More Tech Talk next.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Headline: the off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot who was allegedly attempting to shut off the engines of a passenger plane mid-flight has been indicted on 84 counts. Seems bad.
Oh, what a nightmare.
That seems bad. 84 counts. This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Someone says this. Pretty sure AD was being sarcastic when he suggested that he'd be fine with one of the top quarterbacks if they wanted to come be Tech's backup. Yeah, I mean, like, I think my point was if Dante Moore, well, I'm not going to say Dante Moore because I think he's still very unproven, if not completely unproven. But if, like, Will Howard said that he wanted to come play at Tech, right? I wouldn't sit here that next day and get all upset about it and, complain and cry and moan about it. But that's just not, they're not going for that. They're not looking for that, right? They're not shopping for that in the portal. So Baron Morton is your starting quarterback.
Yep.
Period. Your feelings on the matter, my feelings on the matter, Gus's feelings on the matter, Clint's feelings especially on the matter, do not matter. This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. We need DJ Uyungale because Morton couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with his 3 legs planted. This person says in the chat line, look at all these names in the portal because of coaching, I mean execution. Somebody else says this. Those 2 teams are losing more than their quarterbacks, and Day came out and said that he will reevaluate the quarterback position this offseason. This person says, Kitley couldn't get hired to be the head coach of the Leveland Lobos. Why would you want to do Lally Young like that? He's the head coach of Leveland.
Right. It's these people are just cannibalizing each other.
This on the chat line. I hope Texas wins its playoff games so they can get hammered by a much improved Alabama. This on the chat line. So you think it's about coaching, laughing emoji. I wish that I lived in the spirit world. That may be the excuse to get a waiver, but it's about what we mostly all know. Straight cash homie. This on the chat line from Maester B52. 1 straight hour of undefeated Lady Raider talk, please. Thanks. Basketball. They play tonight. We'll have coverage on 100.7 The Score and 107.7 Yes FM. That all starts at 5:30 with a tip at 6 against Sam Houston State. This on the chat line from T-Money806. Let's hope that Tech is shopping for and finding real big uglies and maybe a couple of inside and outside receivers.
You could just go out and get a tall, majestic, beautiful man.
I mean, linemen can be majestic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it seems like most of their efforts are going. I mean, you can't really turn around without seeing news of another O-lineman offered in the portal. I think they just offered a North Texas kid today. So I don't
offered or we got a tweet. Got a tweet or an X or whatever you want to call it.
I can't go that far.
I can't either. From
Twitter.
tight end, junior college tight end named Alex Lines, I assume, unless that's Linus. I don't know, but started his career at UNLV, 2 years at Arizona, year at junior college. Now he's coming here, 6'5", 255 pounder. Yeah. So,
and they're also still pursuing. Speaking of tight ends,
okay.
Kid named Jalen Conyers from Arizona State. who began his career at Oklahoma and is from Groover.
No kidding. I'll be darned.
Yeah.
That's the, speaking of Lady Raiders, what's their best player? What's her name? She's the one that Fink
Don't
lost.
drag me down with you.
Fink lost his mind
What,
over.
Bailey Maupin?
Yeah, Maupin. Would we call her the best player?
Bailey Maupin.
With the yeah, she's from Groover. That's not a very big town. So they're turning out D1 athletes. That's to be commended.
Yeah, Groover, Texas has a population of 1,108.
A college shooting guard and a D1 shooting guard and a D1 tight end. You said tight end, right?
Yes.
Yep. I like it.
Yeah.
What's his last name?
Conyers. Yeah, 6'4", 270.
Goodness gracious. That's Clint Scott neighborhood right there.
This on the Yates Flooring Center Challenge. Is that lineman from Lubbock Cooper leaving?
I haven't seen his name on the
Yeah, I don't think so.
Seen Keeler and then a freshman yesterday I'll confess to have never heard of. But and then kid and Peterson. Keeler and Peterson are the
Landon
two that
Peterson.
have taken snaps.
Yeah, Seth
then-
Martin's also in the portal.
Yeah, and
Oh,
he's the one I'm
yeah.
thinking of. That's youngster.
T-Money 806. You would think with as much steak and salmon that Tech feeds linemen, they'd be lining up to join the team, or do we not feed the football players as well as we did basketball? This on the chat line. Keep offering O-line to people from UTEP and New Mexico and North Texas. We got a kid from Western Kentucky last year. How did that work? Yeah, I mean, I understand your point. I do think that the O-line was better this year than last. Cole Spencer didn't play every game, so kind of an incomplete there. And I think that Rusty Stats, while he didn't overpower anyone at center and the snaps were an issue when he was dinged up, he was fine.
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.